Welcome everyone, it's me Dadhichi here with a little brief introduction to the July 2021 horoscope readings. You see in many of the readings this month there is a very powerful and challenging opposition. It's been building up even last month, but it reaches a peak on the 1st of July, and that is the opposition aspect of Saturn and Mars. Venus is also part of that, but the Mars-Saturn opposition can be very devitalizing. It can be one of those transits that makes you feel spent. It can also create a lot of frustration, anger, and repressed feelings. Now, a lot of us, well, most of us, I would assume, have had moments in life where we experience the full brunt of this type of transit. And we acknowledge that, but the question is, how do we deal with that? What are the mechanisms by which we can overcome some of these transits? And that's what I wanted to talk to you about today. I didn't want to go into too much depth because this is a whole 1 hour discourse. And really we need to look at each individual horoscope to find the answers. But I will say this, in the system of astrology that I've studied for over 35 years, there are remedial measures that we can take to deal with these issues. Now, I'm not talking about the fleeting frustration we have when the queue is too long and we've only got another 10 minutes left, but we want to eat lunch, we're starving. That's frustrating. I'm talking about life events that can create major challenges, those shocking events in life that are embedded into our subconscious, that we're barely even aware of a lot of the time, but which are playing out in our everyday relationships, our everyday moment by moment living. And if we're unconscious of that frustration, that Mars-Saturn energy can really start to undermine not only your peace of mind, but your health, your well-being, your vitality, and the quality of the relationships that you have. I've got to be honest, I had, and I still have, astrologers aren't exempt from, their sort of bundle of karma. Let me assure you of that. I was born into a situation where my mother was subjected to a lot of violence. Fortunately, she left my alcoholic, my drunkard, wife-beating father before I was 2 years old. I think it was around the age of 2 we left. And so I don't consciously remember any of that, but I can tell you emphatically that I do remember it in my within. And that has played out. More so after I married and had my first child. It was at that point. And so those shocking events that I've just alluded to often lay dormant like a tadpole egg in the desert waiting for the rain to fall. And the rain that fell in the desert was the birth of my first son, whom I loved dearly, but not having had a father and having that subconscious memory of the violence. I mean, it was pretty nasty. My father actually beat the shit out of my mother when she was 8 months pregnant, kicked her, and hospitalized her. So I mean, that has to have some impact on a young mind. I don't remember it, but I know that it has played out. And it's funny because I remember I was in Los Angeles once just interviewing homeless people, and I stumbled upon this homeless man who was very fascinating. He was a very intelligent, very erudite man. He obviously just had run into a lot of bad luck, but while we were talking, and somehow we got onto this topic of anger, he pulled out what I thought was like some sort of thesis on this very topic. And it was interesting because he said that people like myself who were born to alcoholic fathers developed this addiction to anger. He called it adrenalism. Adrenaline addiction, so that anger And I'm not scared to admit it. I'm ruled to a large extent by Mars. I have Mars very powerful in my horoscope. I'm not justifying it. I'm just saying the reasons why. But it made a lot of sense to me, and I realized that that anger that was recurrent, and it's mainly anger at trifling things with me. Standing in the queue for for too long will get me pretty irritated. But what he was saying was that anger, and this is a physiological fact, is accompanied by a secretion of adrenaline. The moment you get angry, there's that little, it's like the heroin addict hit. I mean, this is an internal hit. For me, it was the anger. It's this Mars Saturn thing, right? So I've got to be very careful myself under this transit. But anger is only one emotion. There's a whole gamut of emotions, and each of those emotions is associated with a chemical or hormonal secretion. And often what happens, I mean, the guy was brilliant. This homeless guy really opened my eyes to the fact that I had become addicted to my own adrenaline. And so these transits are not about just simply sidestepping the situations that are going to cause that anger, but it's about getting in deep into yourself, recognizing the problem, recognizing the emotion that you have, recognizing the addictive tendencies to those emotions, whatever that negative emotion may be for you. The first issue is recognizing the problem. If you don't recognize the problem, you can't work with it. You can't solve it. And so that's what I've been doing. I've been working with those issues of anger. I'd love to spend some time going through some of these remedial measures. I might actually put aside some time to do that and walk you through some of the methodologies that I learned, which can be useful in firstly identifying the underlying problem. Usually you'll find it fairly easy going back in time to connect that underlying emotion, that negative emotion, with an event, a specific event that happened in your life. And then slowly working through with these remedial measures, presence, awareness, and patience, some esoteric remedies that we have, mantras, meditation, very, very useful breathing techniques to help you work through that addictive hormonal activity that's going on within yourself. So this month I wanted to bring your attention to that by pointing out just one transit and how it plays out, especially for people like me, maybe people like you that have had similar experiences, traumatic experiences that you're trying to work through. And that's really what I'm interested in here. I'm a remedial astrologer. So if any of you are having those sorts of problems, let me know. Give me your feedback. If you need some help with that, I'm not completely cured myself, but I'm aware enough to know how to manage that now, and I can help you by looking at your horoscope, showing you what the mechanisms in your personal chart would reveal, and the methodologies by which we can go a long way to curing that, at least reducing the stress associated with that. So I'm here. If you need me, just holler, at your disposal, and look forward to seeing you now for the July 2021 forecast for each of your zodiac star signs. See you there. Bye bye now.